Deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits just right?
For me, it's the little things, like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed.
From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need at prices you'll love, guaranteed to fit every time. eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
This is the time of the year most of us are checking off our holiday gift list. Identity thieves have lists too, and your personal information might be on that list. Protect your identity with LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every single second and alerts you to the threats you could miss yourself. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist is going to work to fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% off your first year at LifeLock.com with the promo code BECK. Terms apply.
I'm in my late 60s. My husband died a few years ago. He did all of our taxes. I sold a piece of property last year, and I forgot to claim the proceeds of the sale. Next thing I know, I got a letter from the IRS telling me that I owe over $50,000. Now I have a huge tax problem. I don't have that kind of money. I wish I knew who to call.
If you sold property in the last calendar year or didn't claim all of your part-time or even retirement income, you could be in big trouble with the IRS. Call first before they send you a letter. If you've already got a letter, call. We'll help you file years of past tax returns and save you time and money. So call the tax doctor. The call is confidential and free.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
How about sunshine, dry, and mild? Yeah, beautiful pattern in place as we start to warm things up heading toward the weekend. Sunny skies today with an increase in cloudiness by this evening, but still a pleasant day. And it looks dry as well. The high temperature in the mid-60s. Tomorrow we'll be in the 70s, and by Friday and the weekend, near or above 80 degrees. Nice warming trend. In the First Alert Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of Colombo Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
The time to rise has been engaged. We're better, best to rearrange. I'm talking here to me alone. I listen to the finest work song. Your finest hour.
Hello and welcome to Wednesday afternoon. Looks like the weather is starting to turn around out there, which is a great thing. Maybe that was the end of the cold for 2026, at least until, this winter, later this year. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Thank you for being here with us. I'm Tony Colombo. This is Colombo and Company. In studio today, of course, with producer Ashlyn, and a whole lot to talk about. We've got the latest coming out of Iran. We have got more regarding the government shutdown, got more reaction to the former director of National Counterterrorism Center, Joe Kent, and his resignation yesterday, and him making the claim that, there was no threat by Iran, and that's why he had to leave the administration. We've got news coming out of the governor's race in the state of California, which is interesting. Republicans are leading in the polls there. Wouldn't get your hopes up too much just yet, but that is pretty interesting. We're also, of course, going to open up Klose's Cabinet in the 3 o'clock hour with Mark Klose from KC95, and, of course, the sponsor of Klose's Cabinet, Skip Weber. So it's always fun to talk to those guys on a Wednesday afternoon, and it's a packed Wednesday afternoon. We are going to talk to Stel Babe, producer Stel Ponticus, our intrepid Cub reporter out in the streets. a little bit later on this hour. He'll be here in about a half an hour. In about 10 minutes, we're going to talk to another producer here, of course, producer Emily, who is a part of the Turning Point USA chapter at Lindenwood University. And I want to talk to her about, some of the issues of the day, these stories that we are covering, but also, kind of get that Gen Z, perspective on those stories. But she's also in her working with TPUSA. She attended the All-American Halftime Show. She's got some interesting stories that I am looking forward to talking to producer Emily about here in just a few moments. And as we start this jam-packed show, just about an hour ago, the Federal Reserve announced that it will keep interest rates unchanged in the 3.5, 3.75 range, this coming at the end of their two-day policy meeting. And that is obviously making headlines this afternoon. So who do we go to whenever there's financial breaking news? We go to our financial expert. Even though it's not a Monday, it's a Wednesday. We're talking to Paul Curtman from PR Curtman Investments. Paul, thanks for a little overtime this week, and appreciate you being able to jump on here and kind of explain to us this announcement, what it means for the future, what's going on here with this announcement from the Fed.
Yeah, sure thing, Tony. Glad to be on today to talk about this. Probably about 10 times a year, the Federal Reserve, the Board of Governors meets, and they decide what they're going to do with interest rates. And so the announcement that was made today was that the Federal Reserve will not be cutting interest rates. Interest rates currently sit at about 3.5 to 3.75% for the federal funds rate. And most interest rates that consumers are concerned about actually kind of swing around that federal funds rate. But the reason that they made this decision was because they do have some concerns about inflationary pressure. The Federal Reserve's target rate of inflation is currently 2%, and there's projections that it's going to be closer, maybe even continue to creep up to 2.7%. So if the inflation rate continues to go up, or if those projections turn out to be true, then the Federal Reserve does not want to cut interest rates, because that's how they actually control inflation, is through raising and lowering the federal funds rate. But they also think, this is something that Jerome Powell also announced, he said that because of the war in Iran and the Straits of Hormuz being closed, and maybe limited traffic being able to make its way through, that is currently contributing to higher energy prices in the U.S. We also see this around the world. And so if those prices are going up, and the rate of inflation might go up, whether it's short-term or long-term, it just puts the Federal Reserve in a place where they're just not comfortable cutting rates yet. They want to see kind of what's going to happen over the next month or 2 months. In addition to that, there's some mixed economic data in terms of the jobs reports and unemployment reports. And so that's not necessarily the big swing there. It's really those energy prices and the inflation rate. But people are still expecting that by the end of the year, we probably will see at least one more rate cut, possibly bringing rates down to 3.25%. So it's yet to be seen, but that's the rationale behind why the Federal Reserve just wanted to maintain the current interest rates where they are right now. That's why they're not cutting them. They just have some inflationary concerns, and they just kind of want to see what plays out over the next couple of months, especially where the war in Iran is concerned.
So 2 quick points. You mentioned the Strait of Hormuz. That was a big part of our conversation when you were here on Monday. I want to talk about that, but also just your what you just mentioned there about the future and will there be cuts. To that point, the Fed today also published its first summary of economic projections for 2026, which showed that officials maintained a median forecast for one rate cut in 2026. Does that report, is all of this, taking all this into account, that report and what we've talked about, is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it middle of the road? How do you feel about this?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. When they say that their projections are that we'll have another rate cut in 2026, that's good news. That tells me that they are optimistic about our economy for this year. It's just telling me that they don't want to move too soon. They just want to wait a little bit just to make sure that time allows more data to come in and just verify what their projections look like. So the fact that they're looking at another rate cut, that's always a good sign. I think markets respond well to that. I think people should take that as good news that they're looking at cutting rates again here in the future. But again, they just want to wait because we have had some recent rate cuts, and they want to make sure that there's enough time for those to play out. And then, of course, with the war in Iran, they just want to give that some time as well. But yes, to answer your question, that's good news if the Federal Reserve is projecting that we're going to have more rate cuts in the future.
So, and this is just fortunate timing because when this story broke yesterday, right on the heels of the conversation that you and I had about the Straits of Hormuz and how that is impacting the economy, the United States economy, the world economy, and just the political scene on the world stage altogether. Great conversation about that with Paul on Monday, who actually served in the military in that part of the world, so has firsthand experience of what it's like there. If you missed any of that, go back and check it out on the podcast because it was a great conversation. And then yesterday, this report comes out from both the president himself posting on Truth Social and Senator Lindsey Graham, who also made a post saying that he had never seen or heard President Trump so angry in his life after a meeting where they discussed NATO allies, European NATO allies, refusal to get involved and support the United States, specifically with the Strait of Hormuz, and how they are just sitting back and doing nothing and letting the United States carry the burden and kind of making the statements, these European countries kind of saying, well, you kind of started this, so, don't drag us into it, even though it obviously behooves them tremendously for some stability to be brought back to the Strait and just that part of the world in general. What do you make of our NATO allies not, getting involved and kind of pushing it back on to the United States? And if these reports are to be believed, how enraged that has made President Trump?
There's political leaders in Great Britain and in the European Union who've been very clear that the reason NATO is as strong as it is to begin with is because of the United States.
Wow.
And so if they're gonna withhold their support for the U.S. in terms of I don't know if they've asked them to bomb Iran. I don't know if they've asked them to commit troops. But if it's a matter of keeping the Straits of Hormuz open, that could have the potential to not just frustrate President Trump, but also some of these other countries in Asia that are very dependent on those straits being open in order to supply them with the much needed oil that they have been getting by it moving through those straits and then out to Asia. So President Trump, I know, has already been able to create some alliances with other countries who are going to be sending warships to the region in order to help keep the straits open. So if he can get that support from some other countries but not get it from NATO, it could actually maybe signal that we're going to see some realignment of how our relationships work. This is one of those things, like you find out who your friends are when you're in a situation like this. And it's not just us, but all these other countries who are dependent on that oil are also finding out who their friends are in a situation like this.
Yeah. Part of President Trump's post, and this was, specifically regarding the Strait of Hormuz. The whole war in general, obviously, is the backdrop of this, but this conversation was specifically about the Strait. And just to read part of his post from yesterday, quote, because of the fact that we have had such military success, we no longer need or desire the NATO countries' assistance. We never did. Likewise, Japan, Australia, South Korea. In fact, speaking as President of the United States of America, by far the most powerful country anywhere in the world, we do not need the help of anyone. That last sentence, all caps. And again, Lindsey Graham, telling reporters and putting out a statement saying that he had never seen the president so angry in his life when all of these European countries just, I think one of the quotes from the meeting was they support what we're doing, but refuse to lend any assistance. So pretty interesting stuff, Paul, as this thing unfolds. Really appreciate your time as always, buddy. Thanks for a quick little impromptu update there. Can't thank you enough, for being able to jump on with us today, and we look forward to talking again soon. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, you bet. That is Paul Curtman from PR Curtman Investments. All right, as I mentioned, coming up, we are going to talk to producer Emily, who is part of the Turning Point USA chapter at Lindenwood University. I want to talk to her about some of the stories of the day, but also she's had some interesting experiences and some stories to tell herself about going to the All-American Halftime Show with Turning Point USA and some of the other dramas and controversies that have unfolded here over the last couple months. So very much looking forward to this conversation. Producer Emily joins us next on Colombo Company.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. This is 1019 and 94.1.
Female millennial Trump supporter. I listen to it like every day. Like, seriously, you get it.
News Talk STL.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
Looking for insurance you can truly trust? Since 1986, Bauer Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses across Missouri and Illinois. Owner Cindy Blanton doesn't just offer one quote. She shops all the top carriers like Progressive, Travelers, Safeco, and more to find you the best rates. Whether it's your home, auto, toys, or business, we've got you covered. Visit us at Mid-Rivers Mall in St. Peters or call 636-812-2001. Bauer Insurance Agency, the company that protects, the name you can trust.
License number GL250000615.
Hey, it's good to hear you.
Hey, Dad, isn't it good to see ya?
Yep, but with smoke alarms, we need to hear them. If one alarm is downstairs, you might not hear it upstairs.
At school, everyone hears the fire alarm.
That's why we install hardwired smoke alarms that all go off together, just like school.
Smoke alarms done the right way.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeServices.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli, and my favorite sandwich from Capriati's is the Wagyu beef French dip. So good. It's the au jus that makes it. And the Wagyu beef is pretty good, too. I love Capriati's, and you will, too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Prediction betting app Kalshi has been criminally charged in Arizona. We'll ask Zach Smith of Heritage if he thinks prediction markets are technically gambling at 420.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 1019-94.1 News Talk STL. Thanks again to Paul Curtman from PR Curtman Investments for jumping in and starting the show with us to give us an update and reaction to the announcement from the Fed just about an hour ago. The announcement that they are basically keeping interest rates exactly where they are. If you missed the deeper explanation, just make sure you're subscribed to our podcast. It's the best way to make sure you never miss any of the conversations or info that we cover here on the show. And we put the show out on just about every podcast platform. So wherever you like to get podcasts on that platform, just subscribe to Colombo and Company, and you'll never miss anything that happens here on the show. Producer Stel is going to join us in about 15 minutes from now. But first, it's time to talk to another producer, producer Emily. Emily Wothmoore is on the line with us. Emily, I don't even know how to, and you do so many things. You're part of so many groups. I don't even know how to properly introduce you. You're part of the TPUSA chapter at Lindenwood University. You're part of obviously the student government there at Lindenwood, and so many other things. So Thank you as always for
The voice of Gen Z. That's the title.
You are the official spokesperson for Gen Z, and we appreciate you being here. So I can't remember if we talked even since the Super Bowl, because you actually attended the All-American halftime show, the event that was put on by Turning Point USA.
Yes. Yep.
Share a little bit of that experience with us, because I know that kind of starts some of the other stories that we're going to sort of build on as we go through this conversation. But what was that like, and what was that event like? What was that vibe in person?
I mean, it was so great to just be around a bunch of people that obviously love our country. And, I made a ton of new friends. It's really easy to make friends when you're, like, in such a conservative space, I feel like, and just, like, got to have some conversations, too, outside of it that have been really meaningful. But obviously the concert was awesome. So, Kid Rock had a great set. And they also had Lee Bryce was great, a lot of, like, popular artists right now, too. But definitely the favorite part was just, like, meeting other people and, like, being in that concert environment, but with a bunch of people that, like, actually love our country. So I'm really glad I got to go.
How is the vibe, when you're at a, that event or another, like the various national sort of conferences that you have been a part of, where, there's these large gatherings of conservative-minded folks, and this, obviously a very important midterm election year, a lot on the line. And so, a lot of people, speaking a lot of opinions on the national stage. Overall, do you get the vibe that the people that are, really engaged within conservative politics, whether it be, directly with the Republican Party or not, but just people who are, really engaged in conservative politics, in the conservative media space, is it a positive vibe for 2026 heading into those midterm elections? Is there fear? Is there concern? Is there optimism? What is is there even a general vibe to be had?
Yeah.
Does it kind of fluctuate, depending on the day?
I think there's a lot of really positive momentum, especially with like Gen Z and what I'm seeing going into these conferences. It's like everybody's just so excited to like finally be at the age where we really get to be a part of it and have some say. So everybody's so energized that there's a lot of hope and a lot of excitement. I mean, aside from, I think Gen Z actually agrees more than older generations about like we need to unify the conservative movement more, because when you start to have those rifts, that we see at events like us as the younger part of the conservative movement, we're like, this is not good for anybody. Like, come on, guys, everybody get on the same team instead of causing internal conflict and infighting. And so for that reason, I feel like, it's actually key as our generation to figuring out, what's next. And everybody's so motivated right now that we're hungry for it.
Mm-hmm. And, that sort of leads me into this conversation, because I think it's important to stay positive and to focus on the positive. And, we can get, and that's kind of, I know that that's kind of ironic and kind of rich coming from me, Captain Pessimism. But, I target my anger, and if I do get emotional about an issue, I try to keep it very, political and, and targeted at the people who are causing, the problems. And the reason, and so, my thought process there kind of leads me to this, this experience that you recently had, and, feel free to share as much or as little of this as you want to, but I know we talked about this off the air as being part of the conversation today. So somebody who is, a young person that is extremely involved in conservative politics and has been for a very long time, to the level of being involved with Turning Point USA and other organizations, attending the All-American halftime show. As a college student, you decide to go on spring break to Puerto Rico, and somehow that makes you a traitor in the eyes of some. This is a dangerous mindset to have. If you don't mind, share as much of that story as you're comfortable with.
I'll go into the back.
Yeah.
So for clarification for anybody who like isn't familiar with the All-American halftime show, it's like a rival halftime show to the Super Bowl halftime show, which was hosting Bad Bunny. And Bad Bunny is an artist from Puerto Rico who sings in Spanish. And so the kind of concept behind the All-American halftime show is just like, we want a halftime show in English. You know, I want to be able to sing along and have, you know, and my thing with attending all American halftime shows, I think Super Bowl shows have been generally downhill since Jay-Z took over with booking them in 2018. It's just been really raunchy and kind of messy, and I'm like, I'm just not a fan in general. So I went to the All American halftime show, and then I also went to Puerto Rico. I've been to Puerto Rico before. I have a friend who lives in Puerto Rico that we've gone with before, and this time it was the same group of friends from my high school that we all decided to go now that we're in college, and had a great trip. But I got back, and by the time the plane landed, on our anonymous like Twitter site called Fizz, it's like Yik Yak if anybody's familiar with that. The most trending thing on that was going to the All American halftime show and then going to Puerto Rico for spring break is the most effed up and tone deaf stuff. You're not Hannah Montana queen. You don't get the best of both worlds, and that had a ton of upvotes. And somebody, yeah, I know. And then, yeah, somebody said, no, literally, picking and choosing what they care about for their convenience is disgusting. And then somebody said, imagine being so invested in somebody else's life. And then they responded and they said, when you pretend to be a public figure, you're going to have people invested in you. So my takeaway from that is that they're invested in me.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of nice.
Well,
like,
get used to that. Get used to that if you're going to continue to be in politics or in the media in any way. Trust me, there's a lot of folks that think that they know everything about us.
To me.
Yeah, go ahead. It is
insane.
crazy.
I'm like, I'm in college. Like, I just went on a vacation, you know, and also I would argue, and I had people in my DMs too, you know, talking, and that I totally will debate with them because it's like at least they have enough guts to reach out personally and like put a name on it. You know, it's like I'll talk to you, and so I've been responding to people, you know, and having to make statements, but I shouldn't, you know, and I even told one person that I'm like, at the end of the day, you can listen to whatever music you want to listen to, and I can go to whatever concert I want to go to, and I can also go to Puerto Rico. And I recognize that it is a part of the United States as a domestic territory, but they also still have their own culture and, you know, their own music and all that. And it's like when I go to Puerto Rico, I kind of expect to hear Bad Bunny, you know, but
yeah,
and
but
I'm
they
not saying
they also don't.
States person, but
yeah, it's not like you went there It's not like you went there because you wanted to support Bad Bunny and any type of anti-American sentiment. I don't know how that can't. It's crazy to me that some people have, you know, like have just attached Puerto Rico to the Bad Bunny situation. I have friends that are Puerto Rican. I know people from that culture. They're, you know, some of them don't care one way or another about the Super Bowl halftime show, or, you know, or too old, you know, to be in the Bad Bunny generation and don't care for him, you know, one way or another. And to be like, to not be able to separate, like going to a United States territory that is beautiful, especially if you're looking for a spring break type of vibe, not being able to separate that from one event with a pop star that is from that area. I mean, does every American pop star, like, or music star, you know, like, is their beliefs automatically, you know, permeate everything in the United States?
If you don't like
everything in the country, right? Like, it's crazy to see that attachment. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, and they try to twist it, and you know, the DMs they received, they were trying to twist it into like, in that case, like, you're racist, and it's because that there's representation. You're protesting because of the representation. I'm like, no, that's not it. Like, 100%. If I was racist, like, why would I go to Puerto Rico then? Like, it's like if it was about the race, you know, then why? It's not. You know, if people try to make it something it's not.
Yeah,
you know?
the problem with the Super Bowl halftime show was, as you mentioned earlier, the insistence on like blocking out a large percentage of the country. Like, this isn't for you. This is only for this one group over here. When the Super Bowl halftime show, sports, you know, especially something at that level, is supposed to be something that is inclusive and checks politics at the door. That's why it's one of the reasons that I don't really watch any sports anymore, is because of how much politics and, you know, that type of messaging has made its way into sports. You know, it just is like, it's not where it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be, and that was the problem that I had and many others had with the Super Bowl halftime show. But that doesn't extend to Puerto Rico, or if Bad Bunny or the artist would have been from, you know, anywhere else, it wouldn't extend to their country. It's the event and the message being put out by the person or people that were involved in that halftime show. To act like that's somehow all of Puerto Rico is just a crazy reach. And I didn't realize until you and I talked that was even something that was really happening. And if it is, it needs to stop, because that is really, really stupid. And you are not representing conservatives or libertarians, or, doing a good job of carrying the, anti-woke, anti-democrat, anti-liberal message, if you believe that way, at least in my opinion.
100%.
Yeah, so
I agree.
that's wild. And then on top of that, to kind of combine another story with this experience, with the government being shut down and DHS, and partially shut down at least, and the DHS funding still being a major issue. We've talked a lot recently about how this has been like the most ignored partial government shutdown I can ever remember. We're several weeks into this thing, and you can still barely even, you're lucky to get a headline or see an update on the major news networks on a daily basis. It's almost like everybody's forgotten. And I think it's by and large because, most people haven't really been impacted by the shutdown yet. But that is starting to change. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, in areas like the Coast Guard and with Border Patrol, which is different than ICE, which, of course, ICE is the center of this whole debate, but Border Control and the Coast Guard and TSA. And the TSA impacted airports is starting to impact everyday Americans, which is starting to bring this story up another level. And you experienced a little bit of that while you were traveling as well, did you not?
Yeah, we got a text, all of us individually, because 6 of us on this trip. We get a text from the government, or from whoever runs TSA, and they're like, you need to arrive at the San Juan airport 4 hours early. Otherwise, you might miss your flight. And so we get there 4 hours early, and this line, it went not only just wrapped around, like curving throughout the entire building, it went outside and curved around outside too. Like, I'm talking like back and forth curves. Like, it was just chaos. There should be, how at the bottom of roller coasters, like they take your picture when you're going down? They should have one of those cameras that take your picture when you react to the line that was TSA in this airport, and sell them when you get through at the end, because it was so overwhelming. Like, I immediately was like, oh my gosh, we're not going to get on our flight. Like, and it was like, I heard that it was like that at 2 a.m. too. Like, it doesn't matter. We had our flight in the middle of the day, but I heard that it was just as bad in the morning. Like, it was a nightmare. That, part of that spring break, but at the same time, like, this was the government shutdown, and it was brutal. Like,
was it
brutal,
because did you get any type of explanation, or were you able to pick up on, like,
I kept my head down and got through that line.
Was it because, do you think
because of the shutdown? That's what they
right, but I know because of the shutdown, but is it because because of staffing problem, because due to the shutdown there's not enough TSA agents working, or was that it, or like was there another reason why it had such an
they
impact
didn't
on
specify in the text. But I would guess, especially with, like, an economy over there, like, I would guess that it's because, like, some people do live paycheck to paycheck. And if you're not getting that paycheck, even though you're getting back pay, like, you have to get a different job to be able to afford, that month's rent or whatever. So, like, I do see that side of things. So I could totally, especially in Puerto Rico, I could totally see that being a reason. It's just people aren't showing up. Obviously, like, they were, as many people I saw, they were all working really hard. It's just like, if you need that paycheck, then you have to go out and get a second job, and you can't show up to that first job if they're not going to pay you. But
that's part of this story that is growing. Yeah, that's part of the story that's growing. And we touched on this a little bit yesterday, but there's various groups now, like TSA groups from different states that are, starting to organize and, really try to apply pressure to get something done, because you're right, they will get back pay. But if you live paycheck to paycheck, where there's already reports now of, various TSA agents that are starting to get eviction notices because they haven't paid their rent in the last month or two, and because they're not getting paid. And it's great that you're going to get all of that money, but you have to pay your bills now, and you have to eat now, not 3 months from now. So that is going to, I could definitely see that being an issue where these agents aren't showing up to work because they're going to a job that they're getting paid, that they can pay them today rather than, who knows when down the road. Talking to Emily Wothmoore, producer Emily from News Talk STL, and Turning Point USA chapter there at Lindenwood University, part of the student government there. One more question I wanted to ask you while we have the spokesperson for Gen Z on the line. You got to take advantage of these, rare opportunities. In general, you mentioned earlier, when you're at these national events with groups like TPUSA and others, that there's a lot of excitement and motivation heading into through this year and towards the midterm elections. In general, just in day-to-day life as a college student, are political issues breaking through, the war in Iran, the shutdown that we were just talking about, are they breaking through more than they did in the past, or is by and large Gen Z still, not as, focused on political issues as the older generations are?
Yeah, unfortunately, in that case, outside of like those niche areas where I'm in a hyper-focused, like politically interested group, I'd say that there's not enough of a knowledge like surrounding, especially foreign policy and stuff like that. Like Iran is, people are aware it's happening, but they don't really understand the history as to why and the intentions behind it. And I think a lot of people are starting to get to the point where they're seeing issues, at the gas pump, and they're like, well, why is that? Trump said he was going to bring down gas prices and he's not. So I think people are noticing that, but less than they should. If that makes any sense. It's just like they don't understand the why and don't really care to put the research in.
Right.
Because it's not something that just comes up in conversation.
And I don't necessarily blame the younger generation. I blame, us and the political parties for not reaching out to and getting the younger generation more engaged in these things.
As a spokesperson from Gen Z, we blame you too.
There you go. You've heard it there. The accusation has been made. Emily, really appreciate your time. Great story. Thank you for sharing that with us. We look forward to talk to you again soon. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
You bet. That's Emily Wothmoore, producer Emily from right here at News Talk STL. And speaking of the great team here at News Talk STL, we're going to continue the conversation, get you updated on everything, the latest headlines coming out of the Middle East and from Operation Epic Fury, as well as some headlines like the latest on the government shutdown and the gubernatorial race in California that right now, according to polls, is being led by Republicans. Okay, I don't know if I believe that, but interesting nonetheless. We'll talk about all of these things and more as we continue the conversation with Stel Babe. Producer Stel Ponticus, our intrepid Cub reporter in the field, checks in next.
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
I listen to News Talk STL on the app driving to work.
Download the News Talk STL app.
You got to get the News Talk STL app.
Love the app. Can listen anywhere in St. Louis.
And listen anytime.
News Talk STL right on my phone.
Anywhere.
Looking for unbelievable deals? Stop by Overstock Outlet in Lake St. Louis or Warrenton. Open 7 days a week. Discover big savings on a huge variety of merchandise with no hassle. Just great prices. Visit us in Lake St. Louis on Highway N or in Warrenton on Boones Lake. Check out our Facebook page at Overstock Outlet Lake St. Louis or go online to overstockoutletstl.com. Unbeatable value, friendly service, and you never know what we'll have at Overstock Outlet.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good, casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need, understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
This hour of Colombo and Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Imagine me and you, I do. I think about you.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. I am Tony Colombo here in studio with producer Ashlyn. Great conversation there with producer Emily. And we are now checking in with producer Stel. Stel Babe, our intrepid Cub reporter in the field, checking in live. Great to talk with you, buddy. How are you?
Oh, so happy together.
Reunited, and it feels so good. Lots to talk about, Stel. I want to get everybody up to speed on a couple of the headlines coming out of Iran and some other.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Before we get to the critical worldwide stuff, I just want to point out that my St. Louis Billikens are in the NCAA tournament playing tomorrow night at 8:45 against Georgia up in Buffalo. So I just wanted to get that out there so that folks remember that Billikens are in it, Mizzou's in it, Illinois is in it. First time since 2013 that all three teams from our area have been in the NCAA tournament. So that's pretty exciting. And last night's World Baseball Classic was a classic finale as Venezuela beats Team USA 3-2. My goodness, what a 2.5 months Venezuela's gone through.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, well, and you know what? We need some good, positive, just old-fashioned, great sports moments and stories. As we were just talking with Emily in that last segment, I was, talking about how politics getting into sports has ruined it for me and driven me away from a lot of my fandom. And, hopefully
indeed.
Great tournaments like the NCAA tournament, which is always a blast, big moments like that. That's what we need more of in sports and less political demonstrations. You know what I mean?
I agree.
So
it was good to hear from Emily, by the way. Great to have Emily.
Yeah. What a story from her, as somebody who is so politically involved, in conservative politics and, being a part of the student government and part of the Turning Point USA chapter, went to the All-American Super Bowl halftime show, the TPUSA halftime show, decides to go to Puerto Rico for spring break and gets a bunch of crap for it. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean,
that is ridiculous.
That's so stupid. Yeah, if you missed any of that conversation, it's a great story that we just discussed with Emily. Check it out on the podcast if you missed any of it. So
yeah, that was great.
So, this is.
You want to touch on Iran? You want to go to Iran?
Let's go to Iran then. And before I get into the stories of the day, since this is the first time that we've talked in a couple of weeks, just overall, how do you feel about the U.S. operations and how this has played out in Iran and where we stand at this point? Are you happy with the way things have gone so far? Are you worried? What are you thinking?
I'm kind of in the middle, to be honest with you. I hate to be that wishy-washy, but I'm a little disappointed that our allies don't seem to be that interested in stepping in to help out. But if that's going to be their attitude, fine. I'm sure Trump feels as though, all right, if that's the way you're going to act, we'll just go ahead and keep doing what we're doing. And if you guys don't want to come along, then we'll progress from here. The part that does bother me a lot, and I don't know if you discussed this with Paul yesterday or not, and if so, I apologize for bringing it back up.
No, you're good.
With the closing of the Strait of Hormuz, there are about 3,200 vessels that are stuck there. So you've got at least 20,000 seafarers, folks who are on those vessels who have no access to anything. They don't have access to the shoreline, to getting resupplied or anything. They're literally stuck in the Strait of Hormuz. And until there's some sort of resolution to the situation, I'm not sure what's going to happen there. Are we going to have to somehow get supplies to them with helicopters? I'm not sure where that's going to go over the next week or so. But that's a serious situation when you've got over 20,000 seafarers out there with no access to anything. And you've got roughly 20% of the world's oil consumption going through those waters
Yeah.
with the Strait of Hormuz.
We
So
we
I'm not
did
sure how
talk.
there's going to be.
Yeah, we did talk to Paul about that on Monday because Paul not only can give his thoughts about the economic impact of that, but he actually, when he was in the military, he served there, so he's been
Yes.
there and has that experience, and really did a great job of explaining, the
Good.
real world situation there. On when we talked to him on Monday, I highly recommend anybody that missed that to go check it out on the podcast. And also, speaking of that, I mean, that kind of plays into one of the biggest headlines regarding Iran, and we touched on this, a little earlier, and also yesterday, Lindsey Graham saying that he's never seen the president this mad in his entire life regarding exactly what you just said, Stel. Our allies in NATO, our European allies specifically, that have said, well, we're not going to get involved. We support what you're doing, but you started this war, so you go ahead and finish it. And it really. I think the president was already, Trump, more than any other president, questions, the United States' role, and, do we belong in organizations like NATO where it seems like we're always getting taken advantage of? And according to reports and his own Truth Social posts, he's really questioning that right now, saying, what are we even doing, in this organization where we help everybody, but nobody helps us? How do you see that, that impact playing out, in the coming weeks?
I'll be interested to see if the president has any comment regarding the International Maritime Organization, because they're meeting in London today and tomorrow. I think the council has about 40 members in it, and they're trying to come up with some possible resolutions to the situation in the Strait of Hormuz. Whether they have any push at all as far as getting anything done, I have no idea. But at least the International Maritime Organization is trying to bring about some sort of resolution. Maybe they'll present those to the president, and we'll see if Trump has any idea of where he wants to go with this. But when we spoke a couple of weeks ago, and you asked me how I felt about what was happening in Iran, and I still feel the same way. I still feel very cautionary about what's happening. I'm totally behind Trump as far as decisions that are made, but still the situation is for lack of a better word, I guess it's a pretty hazardous situation. So I don't
Yeah.
know where it's going to go from here, but hopefully we'll have some sort of resolution within the next week or two as the bombing continues in that area.
Boy, does the bombing continue. And I got a story about that here in a second, but I just want to wrap this part of the conversation up by saying I think you touch on something really important there, that, this idea of, the European nations and other countries, that are much closer to that part of the world than we are, and their unwillingness to get involved in any way. The United States cannot be on the hook for nation building or staying there. And, it needs to be on that part of the world to, help rebuild and ensure that there's not another terrorist organization or bad actor that fills these gaps. And it makes me worried when we see so many nations just deciding to sit it out, or at least, sit it out. And I think, a lot of them have the idea of, the United States will always, they'll take care of it. They always do. And that type of mindset worries me.
Yeah, that attitude has been there for quite a while, and I hope there's a change. But as far as NATO is concerned, I'll be honest with you, coming from Greek heritage and having been to Greece a couple of times and spending some lengthy times there, including, 3-month summers back in 68 and 72 when Greece was under a military junta. That was an interesting time when you have soldiers on the streets breaking up groups of 3 or 4 people. We don't understand here what it's like living in a situation like that. Just like the Venezuelan people, what they've gone through for 47 years, to have a specter of freedom for them, that's awesome. And to see them win the World Baseball Classic, that's so exciting. Yeah, they beat Team USA, but I didn't care. I was excited for Venezuela just because of everything they've gone through for 47 years.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think we as Americans don't really understand, like you said, a lot of what goes on. And NATO just hasn't stepped up to the plate, if I can use that analogy.
Talking to Stel Ponticus, producer Stel Babe here on Colombo and Company. And as you mentioned, the strikes continue. The Israeli military said it struck more than 200 targets in Iran in just the last 24 hours. So since the last time that we gave an update here on this show, and yesterday we had a headline about a Iranian senior leader being taken out, and that has happened again today. Killing a senior Iran-linked commander in Lebanon, the IDF did. The Israeli Defense Forces said dozens of Israeli Air Force fighter jets targeted sites in western and central Iran tied to ballistic missiles and drone operations, along with air defense systems and weapons production facilities as part of efforts to degrade Iran's capabilities and reduce incoming fire in Lebanon. The IDF said it killed Hassan Ali Maran in a strike in Beirut, identifying him as the commander of the Imam Hussein Division, a force tied to Iran's Quds force and linked to Hezbollah. This guy had taken over after his predecessor was killed about a week ago and was the third commander of the division eliminated in a very short period of time. More Iranian leadership just taken out, obliterated by the operations from Israel and the United States. In that regard of, trying to fully wipe out this regime, I do think the United States and Israel have done a really good job. And I know it's not over yet, but man, they have been very persistent and clinical about taking out every branch of leadership of the Ayatollah's regime. Your thoughts?
Yes, they have. And if I were on the list of folks to take over, I probably would ask for my name to be taken off the list.
Yeah, no kidding. So we only got about a minute left, so we don't got time to dig into this. But there's a new poll out showing that Steve Hilton, the old Fox News host, is leading. He's a Republican, and he's leading the gubernatorial polls in California right now. I don't want to get my hopes up, but dang, that's a pretty crazy, even just hearing that headline is a pretty crazy thing to hear that there's a Republican leading the governor's race in the state of California. Don't know if it's a sign of things to come, but, pretty interesting.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of Steve Hilton for quite a few years, having watched him on TV and knowing his background. He's a great guy, and I hope it works out for him.
Yeah, going to be really interesting to watch that as it plays out. And I wonder if that means that the conservative message is breaking through or just because he's, famous and that plays really well in California. But still interesting and something that we'll continue to keep an eye on in the coming weeks. Stel Babe, thanks so much for your time, buddy. Great to hear from you, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Tony. I appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, you bet. Great stuff there from Stel Ponticus. And we're going to open up Klose's cabinet next.
Hey, it's Susie Moore for Window World. Did you know that in just over the last 20 years, Window World of St. Louis has improved the look and thermal efficiency for over 80,000 customers in St. Louis? Plus, Window World windows come with a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. And now, Window World is offering 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. Call them today at 800-GET-WINDOWS for a free in-home, no-pressure estimate. That's Window World at 800-GET-WINDOWS. They're the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues.
Hey, Mike Ferguson here, and for nearly 40 years, Nutrition Stop has been St. Peter's trusted source for natural living. They've got a great, knowledgeable staff offering more than just products. They provide guidance on your wellness journey with exceptional service, from 100% grass-fed meats like elk and bison and local produce to quality supplements and clean household products. 4101 Mexico Road in St. Peter's, just off the interstate at Cave Springs and Highway 70.
Baseball in St. Louis.
This weekend on JC's Wayback Machine, we celebrate opening day.
'Cause I was born a Cardinal fan.
You'll hear from all the biggest names
Mike McGuire and Sammy Souser
throughout the rich Cardinal baseball history.
P.S. The Mets are pond scum. You're forgetting the beer.
There's only one place to hear it.
It's opening day.
We are going to Game 7.
What's the score, badass?
JC's opening day edition of the Wayback Machine, Saturday, 6 till 9.
Looking for a hardware store that treats you like family? Welcome to True Value Schneider's Hardware, your local gem in Old Town St. Peters. For over 100 years, we're proudly serve you St. Charles County, providing everything from lawn and garden supplies to plumbing and electrical. Need a bolt or fastener? We've got you covered. And don't forget, we're a steel dealership. Whether you need sales, parts, or service, ask for Charlie or Jerry when you come in. We're here to help. Call 636-278-4461 or visit us online at truevalue.com/Schneiders.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Israel continues to strike Beirut. Iran, meanwhile, sending missiles toward Israel and its Gulf neighbors.
Iran is lashing out following the killing of one of its top leaders in an airstrike, with attacks on its Persian Gulf neighbors and Israel, using some of its latest missiles to evade air defenses and killing at least 2 people near Tel Aviv, as the war in the Middle East shows no sign of slowing. Israel, meanwhile, has kept up intense pressure on Lebanon, with strikes, it says, targeting Iran-backed Hezbollah militants, hitting multiple apartment buildings in Beirut and killing at least 6 people. In Iran, the Bushehr nuclear power plant complex was hit by a projectile, but there were no injuries and the plant suffered no damage. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Vice President J.D. Vance says he knows high gas prices are a big issue for American families right now.
We are fighting against it, and we promise that when this conflict draws to a close, when this operation draws to a close, we're going to see those energy prices come back down to reality, because that's what the president promised to do. He delivered an energy-dominant agenda. It's made us much more secure in the face of these things. But yeah, we got a rough road ahead of us for the next few weeks, but it's temporary.
Stocks took a pounding on Wall Street. The Dow was down 780 points. And a big comeback for one American company.
Macy's is reporting stronger than expected profits from the crucial fourth quarter of last year, and comparable sales are up again. The department store says an overhaul of its merchandise and improved customer service is leading to more spending by shoppers. The company, which also operates upscale Bloomingdale's and the beauty chain Blue Mercury, offered a mixed outlook for the year, projecting sales above Wall Street expectations while remaining conservative on the outlook on profits. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
More from townhall.com.
If your investments are in a 401k or an IRA, then listen carefully. You spent 30, maybe 40 years building your retirement. The question is, are you about to watch it take a hit you can't recover from? Military escalation in Iran, tariffs and legal chaos, the U.S. dollar under pressure it hasn't seen in years. History is clear. When this much uncertainty hits at once, the investors who moved into gold and silver first came out ahead. Right now, Advantage Gold is offering a free gold investment kit and a free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's powerful new book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Call Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000. Thousands of Americans have already rolled over a portion of their 401k or IRA into physical gold and silver, completely tax and penalty free through Advantage Gold. Don't wait for the next surge to wish you had moved sooner. Results vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. The warm-up has begun. Still kind of cool in the morning, but not too chilly. 45 for the low, and then warming up even more in the afternoon. Thursday, mostly sunny and a high of 74. But wait, it gets even warmer. Friday, mostly sunny and a high of 82 degrees. We're in the 80s again Saturday. Sunday, 79. Looks dry through the weekend, too. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Fox News commentary with Brian Kilmeade next.
Most investments today feel like second jobs. Real estate, you're a landlord. Stocks, you're a day trader. Crypto, you're a full-time researcher. You've got a life to live. Your investment should help you live it. That's why more Americans are choosing gold. Noble Gold has helped thousands protect their future with real physical gold. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com to get your free wealth protection kit. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Here's Brian Kilmeade.
The 47th president is the first president to confront the radical Iranian regime, sworn enemy of America, taking on the established power that has ballistic missiles of all ranges and a program of weaponization when it comes to nukes, refusing to walk away from a problem that has plagued 7 previous presidents. No one ever said this would be easy, although we make it look easy so often. But to me, you have to be hard-pressed to find someone not impressed with the power of our military and the scope of our progress in less than 2 weeks. By definition, war is not scriptable. It demands constant adjustments by definition. But the biggest adjustment for me so far has been getting used to the media and the opposition party, called the Democrats, who all seem to be rooting against President Trump and all the success they are having.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
News, analysis, opinion.
Funding for ICE and the Department of Homeland Security should not move forward.
What they're doing is putting politics ahead of the safety and security of this nation.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
I hopped off the plane at LAX with a dream, my cardigan. Welcome to the land of fame excess. Am I gonna fit in? Jumped in the cab, here I am for the
Welcome back to Colombo Company on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Great 2 o'clock hour there with Paul Curtman starting the show with us on the news. The announcement from the Fed today to not mess with the interest rates. Paul was able to kind of break it down, explain it to us. Also talked to Emily Wothmoore, producer Emily, and producer Stel Stel Ponticus. If you missed any of that, go and check out the podcast. Best way to make sure you never miss anything here on the show. And now it is time to open up Klose's cabinet. Got a little Miley Cyrus there to open things up. I'll explain in a moment. We got Mark Klose from KC95 on the line with us. Marker, how are you?
I'm good, my friend. How you doing?
I'm doing good. And, of course, this is all brought to you by Weber Chevrolet and Skip Weber. We're having some technical difficulties. We may be able to connect with Skip this afternoon. We may not be able to, but we'll see how it plays out. But, yeah, Mark, I know for you and for many folks, you hear Miley Cyrus or you think of Hannah Montana, and that's, that's the kids thing. That's something that, the kids today are into. Next week, Disney is celebrating the 20th anniversary of Hannah Montana. That's how long Miley Cyrus and Hannah. It is not like my kids look at Hannah Montana as that's that old. Oh, that's that old lady that used to be on Disney, right? 20 years of Hannah, since Hannah Montana and Miley Cyrus. When I read that headline, Mark, it made me feel very old.
Well, so much of that, Beaner, my daughter, one and only, like she says, the gift that keeps on giving, and I'm like, the gift that keeps on taking, but that's another story. Just turned 36. So Hannah Montana, all that Disney stuff, and SpongeBob SquarePants, and Rugrats, and all that stuff, Aladdin, right in her wheelhouse. I mean, the big thing is when very young is when Barney hit. And oh my God, we watch Barney 8 hours a day. I mean, I love you. You love just your brains that I was losing my mind. And so yeah, for her to sit back and look at that, and Hannah Montana 20-year anniversary, and so Beaner started early on and stuff. Pretty amazing when you think about it, man.
Yeah, it's crazy how time flies and how that's been. Yeah, how old that is. I think we have Skip on the line. Skip Weber, are you there?
I'm here.
Awesome. Great to hear from you. So we started the segment this week with Miley Cyrus because I told Mark, I can't remember the last time a headline hit me like this hard, like thinking like, oh my God, am I really that old? Next week, Disney is celebrating the 20th anniversary of Hannah Montana. That's how long Miley Cyrus and Hannah Montana has been around. Like, I still think of Hannah Montana as like, oh, that's something that the kids are into. No. Yeah. she's considered old by the kids today. Like I said, my kids will say like, oh, that's that old lady that used to be on Disney, right? Yeah, 20 years of Hannah Montana. I don't know. That one hit me hard, Skip. But does it seem like 20 years to you?
Honestly, kind of a little bit, yeah.
Yeah?
It does. I don't know if I'd have guessed 20. I'd have probably guessed 15. But, here, same thing. My daughter was not Hannah Montana. My daughter was Lizzie McGuire, and that's even older.
Oh, yeah.
Hillary Duff, and she, I no longer sit there and marvel at how fast time has flown.
Yeah.
It's tough for me. I still think of stuff from songs from the 80s as modern rock.
Right.
Because it's stuff that I heard as it was coming out instead of older than me. And I always thought that, and it's stuff that's 50 years old. I mean, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. No, that's good. It's a more healthy way to look at it than I did when I realized that Hannah Montana was 20 years old. It just I couldn't believe it. It has been that long since that started. That just feels like yesterday for me. And with my oldest daughter kind of being just old enough to kind of be a part of that generation, just doesn't seem like that it could possibly be 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But here's a headline on the other side of things, kind of like a throwback coming back to the old days. 2025 was the first year since 1983, Skip, for vinyl records to sell over a billion, to have over $1 billion in sales. So since 1983, 2025, the first time since 1983 that vinyl records sold more than $1 billion units. I think that's I think that's cool.
$1 billion units, or
yeah,
sold $1 billion units or $1 billion?
I'm sorry, $1 billion. I'm sorry, you're right. You're exactly right. Sorry about that. No, $1 billion since 1983 for first time since 1983 for vinyl records. Still pretty cool to see that. That coming back and being a part of music collection.
Every generation has to have stuff different. Has to have stuff different than their parents, and so now you've got teenagers now where their parents lived in the age of no medium, downloaded media.
Mm-hmm.
Downloaded songs. No, I lament that all the time, that people don't go buy their own music. They don't go buy full albums and all that. To me, it's missing a giant hole in your experience if you don't do that. But in order to change, I mean, there's nothing further technologically that's come up. So that's why I think people are going backwards. And of course, people like me and Mark, perhaps you, we're still nostalgic about the needle drop sound and some of that, classic sound. But kids are doing things different than their parents did. It's innate to children. They have to do that different, and that's one of the ways they're doing it.
Well, you know what, Mark? To Skip's point, not only am I nostalgic for like the sound of a record or maybe the sound of a cassette tape or something like that, how it brings me back, but I also like, as much as the music, like listening to the music, my music collection is just as big of a deal to me, like having the actual records or the CDs and having a big musical collection was a big deal. And now with no physical media, to Skip's point, that's just not how things are done anymore. And I think that takes away from, from your enjoyment of that kind of stuff. What do you make of all this?
Well, and agreed. And I would think if you talk to any majority of baby boomers, somewhere in their house, chances are they have a Peaches crate, and it's loaded with 100 of the greatest, LPs that they bought at Music Vision, at EJ Corvettes, at all these different records back in the day. And I mean, that would be, the record, like Skip said, the record would come out, we'd go buy it immediately and listen to both sides, put the needle on, run it all the way through, flip it over, run the other side. which is where, with Casey, a lot of that deep tracks came from. We were playing stuff that no other radio stations, or very few in the country, would play because the jocks could pick their own music. So they'd go deep into the tracks and into the LP and play it. And yeah, I'll still talk to them. Oh yeah, and they'll tell you, I got about 350. I got 420. They always have a number on how many LPs they got in their house.
Exactly.
Very proud of that fact. So it's
right.
It's a part of history people hang on to.
Yeah. Go ahead, Skip.
Yeah, and I would trust a KC jock every day, instantly, to pick out what the best songs on an album was. Well, way before I'd trust a record company executive, and that shows you right there. The record companies decide what to release as singles, and most of them were good songs. Very rarely the best song on the album.
Yeah.
Deep. And that's the problem. You don't get that. I'll tell you. My wife, for example, when she'll put on some music, she'll just play shuffle play of Bob Seger.
Yeah.
If not shuffle play of everything, but if she wants to listen to Bob Seger, she'll play a shuffle play. And I have gone to great lengths to organize it so that I can listen to Bob Seger albums. Or I can listen to David Bowie albums, and I'd listen to the album the way it was done. You got to take it off shuffle. You got to make sure you have all the tracks on there. I mean, it's crazy that I have to. It's harder for me to listen to an album now than it was when I was 20.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
Because that doesn't even exist anymore. The term deep cut. That's not even a thing anymore. You're lucky if you even get you're lucky if you even get albums half the time, because most a lot of times it's just singles being released digitally so they can get the most downloads. When I misspoke earlier about so if you missed it, vinyl record sales hit $1 billion last year. It's the first time since 1983. The actual numbers on the units was also pretty interesting because vinyl records were the most popular physical format of music purchasing last year, with 46.8 million records being sold compared to 29.5 million CDs. Doesn't surprise me. Yeah. The CDs part, Mark, doesn't surprise me because, that's not something that people really even have anymore. But to hear that big number for vinyl records, 46.8 million records being sold, that's a pretty That's a pretty good sign.
You know what would turn that around, don't you?
What's that?
Putting CD players back in cars. Skip Weber, Chevrolet, CD players in cars.
I don't think there's a demand for that. I'm not an expert like Skip, but Skip, I don't think there's a demand for CD players in cars.
Mark, I love you, and I appreciate that you think I have that kind of power. But I got no say. I'm selling the stuff. I got no say in what is put into these cars.
What about a record player in the car? Just right there, in the center console, just like, a little turntable?
They had them in the 50s.
Did they really?
Absolutely. They would play 45s, and they were on like little spring deal. And, of course, they skipped nonstop, but they were right in the middle, like on the console, and you put your stack of 45s on there and let her rip. So, hey, bring it back.
I bet that sounded great. Go ahead, Skip.
Tony, you talk about buying records, and there's a few stores out there that sell them, a vintage vinyl type place, and there's some regular stuff, and you can see them in Target and stuff like that, and I'm sure that people buy them online. But where there's a great place to buy vinyl records? I mean, great. I guarantee you, I have to believe it's one of the top sources. A great place to buy vinyl records.
I have a guess.
What's your guess?
Target.
Well,
because I see them all the time at Target, and my kids have bought vinyl records from Target. Go ahead.
That's something that you would expect.
Yeah.
Here's a place you would not expect, and it's great. Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel.
Cracker Barrel. Yeah.
You're right. I didn't expect it. You're right. I didn't expect it.
They have great selections of vinyl records there. It's really good.
You're right. I didn't know that. I'll have to check out. I love Cracker Barrel, by the way. The food is
biscuits and gravy, baby.
Oh,
yes,
you know it. You know it. One more thing.
Next time you go, spend some time in the store and you'll see.
For real, I'm going to. Yeah. And one more thing I want to touch on this issue is, not to be the old man that's, harping about, back in my day when things were so much better. But the other thing that kind of makes me crazy, and it goes back to like, having a music collection that you are proud of, a physical collection that you could, like Mark said, you could brag about the number of, you knew exactly how many albums you owned or exactly how many CDs you owned. This is not just for music. This is for music, for movies, for video games. When everything is digital, do you really own it for the, is it really part of your collection forever? Because, it's, you get something downloaded, on your iPod back in the day, and then iPods don't, they're not a thing anymore, and your iPod doesn't exist anymore, and all the music that you bought, could be lost unless you have your, everything backed up on a laptop. And then what if the laptop goes, like, just the idea of everything being digital, you can't, it makes it much more difficult to actually own these things for your entire life, and you don't really even have a collection anymore. You see the issue that I have here, Skip? Or you agree with me? Yeah. Mark, go ahead.
I agree with that.
Product,
I agree with that.
I agree.
Yeah, it's especially happening with video games. There's actually a big push in the video game industry. It was called Stop Killing Games, because when video game players were buying these games and they'd have them for years, if a lot of these games that have like online servers and things like that, whenever the publisher decides that they're just not going to support the game anymore, it just goes away. And the thing that you bought, you don't own anymore because it's just gone. And I'm sure that can happen with music down the line and movies and video games and everything. It's just I don't know, that it's a danger, I think, about the direction that we're heading in with this stuff.
It's on every level. It's on every level, Tony. I mean, I'll tell you, my kids, when they want to play a game, they go straight to the television, whether it's a video game or it's a game that you interact with people and you all play using your phones or whatever. Like, it's not really a video game, but it's still played on TV. Where's the board games? I love board games. It doesn't matter what it might be, but get a board out, put it on the table, spread it all out. Nobody, you just don't see it happen. It's like I said, if you don't, like you said, if you don't have some sort of membership and downloading ability and some place to store it, digitally, you're not living in today's entertainment world.
Absolutely. And I know I've done it. I've bought movies on, with my remote and, off of, my old cable systems that I used to have that I don't have anymore. And, like they're gone forever. And, you try to remember, like, didn't we buy that movie a few years ago? Can we watch that again? Is it still there somewhere? Like, what platform did we buy that on? You spend $20 to buy a movie, and it used to be that movie was in your was in your entertainment center somewhere in a drawer, whatever. You could pull it out anytime you wanted, and now it's now you can lose those things just it's so easy. And don't like it, but I do like seeing that vinyl records are coming back in a big way. Talking about cars, I thought this was a perfect conversation for this segment. This is Klose's Cabinet, talking to Mark Klose, KC95, and Skip Weber from Weber Chevrolet. So there was a big Consumer Affairs did a survey and an analysis about what generation are the safest drivers, the best drivers and the worst drivers. And it literally lined up probably exactly like you are thinking, which almost never happens with these type of surveys. It showed that Gen Z is the worst, millennials are the second worst, then Gen X is a little bit better, and baby boomers are the safest drivers. It very rarely, Skip, like lines up exactly how you think it's going to line up, but that's a little bit of validation there, right? About the traditional thinking of, as you get older, you become a much safer driver. What do you think of that? What do you think of that survey? And does it sound right to you?
Well, it sounds right to me. I mean, it's Tony. It's not because I want to say I'm proud of myself for being in this class. I mean, I'm actually Gen X, not baby boomer, but it's just what you observe. I mean, come on. Try to be neutral and observe, and you'll see that. Everybody wants to have their own slot be the best at something or not be criticized, and I get that. And just because somebody says this generation I'm in is bad at something doesn't mean I have to be. People around me can be, but just be honest with yourself and look around. And that, of course, you can observe those exact results every day. I'm sorry, you can.
Mark, I like Skip. I'm Gen X. What I can't go back far enough. What generation are you, and where did you fall in this survey?
I'm the greatest generation. No, I'm a baby boomer, and the reason the baby boomers come out number one is that baby boomers are the only people that'll fill out a survey. When's the last time you saw Gen X fill out a survey? They're not doing that. So we're sitting around, I got nothing but the Price is Right is over. I'm going to fill out a survey, and all of a sudden baby boomers are number one. But I agree with Skip, because they'll even say, like my daughter's generation, that none of them are doing anything and blah. And I mean, all her friends are doctors and lawyers and scientists, and Beaner's going to be a psychologist. And it's like, you can't pigeonhole people into one group or category.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a higher percentage of them might stick out, but there's still always going to be, no matter what age group is. I had guys that I remember that I worked with a million years ago. I mean, like 45, 50 years ago. And they're still kind of the same way they were back then, brother, just kind of plodding along and doing their thing. And I got to say, they're very happy with their life.
Right.
So, they're good for them, man.
Well, this survey was actually done by analysis of crash data and tickets and things like that. So you're right on. It doesn't have to. It wasn't just because you guys are too bored and filling out surveys. You actually won this one legitimately from the.
All right, we'll take it
from the stats. Last one, guys. Wanted to get your thoughts here. It's National Sloppy Joe Day. Skip, Sloppy Joes. Where does it rank? Is it high? Is it low on your favorite sandwich thing?
Sky high, brother. Sky high.
I kind of figured.
I'll give you two things about Sloppy Joe's. Number one, the best place in the world for Sloppy Joe's is in Key West. It's where the Sloppy Joe was invented.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a restaurant there that has a menu, and you won't believe how many ways they can make Sloppy Joe's, and they're all delicious. I forget the name of the place. It may even be called Sloppy Joe's. I don't know, but it's a restaurant in downtown Key West. It's unreal good. But number two, as our latest thing, is we have a lot of deer meat.
Oh, yeah.
Our property, we've got a lot of deer on it, and so we've done a little bit of hunting. And venison
that's
Sloppy
good.
Joe's,
That's good, yeah.
Venison Sloppy Joe's is a level above. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. And so that's what we do. We do a lot of venison Sloppy Joe's.
Deer meat and deer sausage has been a staple at our family events because we have a lot of hunters in our family, but I've never had a venison Sloppy Joe, but I love deer meat, so I can only imagine that it's that.
We just use regular manwich sauce or whatever your go-to Sloppy Joe stuff is, and use venison instead of hamburger, and it's amazing. It's so good, and it's better for you too.
Marker, where are you at on Sloppy Joe's? Yay or nay?
Well, let's get past the part that you two guys are eating Bambi Sloppy Joes. I mean, that's a little disconcerting, in my opinion.
No.
I've never been a fan. I mean, to me, you're screwing up the hamburger. Cook a hamburger, make it savory, but then all of a sudden you're throwing in, what the other one is, like meatloaf with red sauce on it as opposed to brown sauce. That should be outlawed. That should not even be allowed in the United States. So it's like, it's got to be brown gravy on meatloaf. Come on.
I like meatloaf either way, actually, and I'd like Sloppy Joe's too.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what else is great with meatloaf? Venison meatloaf.
Boom.
Yeah, great. So now Bambi's mom's going down. That's just wonderful.
There's no Bambi, Mark.
No.
These are all full grown.
No, these are people.
We make sure.
Not when you're around.
We make sure that we only hunt the deer that are mean to other deer.
There you go. That's right. Listen, have you ever heard of overpopulation and how devastating that can be to the deer community, the deer population? You gotta,
We take care of the bullies. We don't
There you
want
go.
bullies out there. The
That's
nice
right.
hurt the nice deer.
Absolutely,
Really?
absolutely. And I'll take a good sloppy Joe anytime. And I'm all in on trying a venison sloppy Joe. That sounds fantastic. Before we get out of here, Marker, what is the? I think fingers crossed. Yesterday, this little cold front and little weather that we went through here at the beginning of the week. Maybe that was it. Hopefully, that was the last cold days of this winter, and it's definitely starting to warm up today, and looks like it's gonna, really get warm through the rest of the week and into the weekend. So a lot of people getting back outside, a lot of events coming up. I'm going to talk about my show here in a couple minutes, of course, but what's going on with your band? What's going on with KC95? What's coming up that we need to tell folks about?
Well, basically, you're right. I'm out here on the patio, and I think we're over the real cold stuff. Looking at a couple of weeks, looks like 60s, maybe 50s, 70s. That's good. Our next gig, we've been dormant throughout March, so April 4th is our show coming up over at the Miners Theater over in Collinsville. We'll be playing Close Quarters along with Learn's band Lane Narrows. Got some T-shirts we just ordered. We'll be selling those. We got a couple of surprise guests that may pop in. We're going to have a little sing-along towards the end. And I just checked a little while ago. There's only about 40 tickets left. So if you're interested, you might want to grab them, because when they're gone, they're gone. You can find them at KC95.com. And then our first outdoor gig, April 11th, will be out of the Dog Prairie out in St. Paul, Missouri. And hopefully we'll be outside in the beer garden. It looks good. Looks like the weather's going to hold. I mean, it's still a couple of weeks away, but we're ready. I'm so ready to get outside and start playing again. It's so much more fun being outside. I just love it. So
that's fantastic. And and I mentioned, we got our show coming up in just a couple days, Friday night, March 20th, this Friday, 2 days from now. My band, Tony Colombo and the North County Sound Machine, featuring Katie Fitzpatrick, opening for Somebody to Love, the Queen tribute. Somebody to Love was in studio with us last week playing live. They just sound so freaking good. Of course, Skip and his team at Weber Chevrolet, one of the main sponsors of that. So Skip, as always, can't thank you enough. And also only a few tickets left for our show as well. You can go to the mill.events. That's the website for the Mill in Granite City. That's the venue that we will be playing at on Friday night. And you can get your tickets there now. You can get more information there now. But at last check, there was less than 30 tickets left, I think. So get your tickets while you still can, and get out there and join us on Friday for a great party. My band opening, but then, the Queen tribute, Jason Nelson and his guys from Somebody to Love is just, if you like Queen in any way, it is just an incredible show. So we hope to see everybody out there. And again, can't thank you enough, Skip, for supporting that and all the support that you've given to the local music scene over the years. What's the latest at Weber Chevrolet and with the entire Weber Automotive Group?
Well, March is truck month for both Chevy and Ford. New rebates just came out today, increasing the discount by even a little bit more. So, I have to admit that I never liked the concept of truck month, because Silverados are like our number one seller every month, and it's our number one focus, and we're always focused on them, okay? But to have that be an event is tolerable. It certainly doesn't aggravate me. And they do put a little bit more money typically on it. They put more advertising on it. But so I can tell you right now, this is probably the cheapest you can buy a Silverado since COVID. So wow. I don't think it'll last beyond April 1st, because it's some big money from the factory. So it's pretty cool. And it's the same thing with the F-150s. So check out it. Nowadays it's not a work vehicle. It's a family vehicle that you can work with. The Silverados and the F-150s are so nice to drive. They're not work vehicles anymore. So that's kind of what's going on. Of course, with everything else for sale, always too, and we're always going to give you the best deal and the best service, as our reviews have shown for many, many years.
I had a back-to-back. I've talked about this a couple times on the air. I had a back-to-back situation. My daughter's car and my truck back-to-back in the service department at Creve Coeur last week. And as always, your guys just absolutely knocked it out of the park. It was just a great experience. And I agree. That's what sets Weber apart from the rest, the service department and the dedication to taking care of the customer. Skip Weber from Weber Chevrolet, Mark Klose with KC95. Guys, thanks so much. We'll talk to you again next week. Have a great rest of your day.
See you, boys.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you bet. Great stuff there. All right. Got a little bit more to go here before we wrap things up and hand it off to the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. You're listening to Colombo and Company on 101.9 and 94. News Talk, STL.
Follow Tony Colombo on Twitter at Tony Colombo Talk.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
John Beal knows that right after a hailstorm, new roofing companies start popping up everywhere. But the Small Business Administration reports 96% of them go out of business within the first 5 years. So how good is that warranty? John Beal started in the roofing business, helping his granddad and his dad. Always offering the best roof, best price, best guarantee. John Beal Roofing, not some fly-by-the-night operation. Call my friend John, 1-800-NEW-ROOF, 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
New York City Mayor Mondami has some good news for New Yorkers. Now that he's in office, he's realizing New York City is truly in a fiscal mess. But wait, he's got a plan to help citizens have more money. The current $17 minimum wage will be raised to $30. Great news. That won't happen overnight, but by 2030, all public employees should be getting $30 an hour. Well, what's your question? How much will $30 be worth in 2030? You're such a party pooper. In fact, you're just like a financial analyst who said you don't make a place more affordable by making workers earn more. In fact, if they're going to be earning more, you can bet the prices will go up. And he added, when these champagne socialists, his words, champagne socialists earn more, everything they're buying will cost more. Mondami insists living in the world's richest city, minimum wage should not mean living in poverty. So he's pushing 30 for 30, $30 by 2030. Great news? Huh. Either way, it's in the junk pile of socialist ideas.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Do you know why I endorse Cafe Napoli, all the locations? Visit any of them, and you will quickly appreciate the quality of food, service, atmosphere. So maybe I'll see you at Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli Kirkwood, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C. Or maybe you'll find me at Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the Chesterfield Valley. Now you know why I endorse Napoli, NapoliSTL.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common-sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at INHSTL.com. That's INHSTL.com.
Dozens of out-of-state law firms are crashing into St. Louis trying to get your business. My advice, rely on a hometown firm. Under Law has been here for years. There are lawyers raising their families right alongside yours. And when you're injured by someone's careless actions, you are entitled to full compensation. You want lawyers who will not bend to big insurance, but will stand defiantly protecting you. Under Law, O-N-D-E-R, underlaw.com. Under wins.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
The story behind the story. Part 2 of the Houston mass murders. 30 children killed.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo Company on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Jam-packed show today with Paul Curtman and Emily Wothmoore and Stel Ponticus and Klose's Cabin. If you missed anything, go back and Check out the podcast. Best way to make sure you never miss anything on the show is by being subscribed to the podcast. We put the show out as a podcast right after we get off the air every day. We put it on basically every podcast platform. So wherever you get podcasts, wherever your favorite platform is to get podcasts, on that platform, just subscribe to Colombo and Company, and you'll never miss anything that happens on the show. Quick reminder, I just touched on it there in Klose's cabinet, and again, got to thank Skip Weber and Weber Chevrolet for their sponsorship. But our concert is just a couple of days away. My band, Tony Colombo and the North County Sound Machine with Katie Fitzpatrick, is opening for Somebody to Love, the ultimate Queen tribute. This is going to be a blast. The Queen tribute band, Somebody to Love, is just the best that there is. From the music to the stage performance to the videos, like the whole thing is just absolutely incredible. So if you like the music of Queen, you don't want to miss this show. We're going to have a whole lot of fun, opening for them. That is this Friday at the Mill in Granite City. And doors are at 7, show starts at 8, and there is only, I don't know the exact number. It was like 30 last check, which was a day or so ago. So, a couple dozen tickets left, best case scenario right now. So if you want to come out and be a part of this party, make sure you get your tickets ahead of time. You can go to themill.events, and on that website, you get all the information about the show, all the details. As I said, doors at 7, show starts at 8. You can purchase your tickets right there. It's one of those deals where you can actually select your seats. So even though there's not very many left, you'll be able to pick, the best seat remaining that you want right there off the website, and come out there and join us. I posted a little sneak peek of band practice on Twitter yesterday. So if you want to see a little bit of that, you can go to my Twitter at Tony Colombo Talk. See a little video from band practice. It's going to be an absolute blast this Friday, the 20th. This Friday, 2 days from now, at the Mill in Granite City. My band opening up for Somebody to Love, the Queen tribute. It is going to be awesome, and we hope to see everybody out there. All right, that is going to do it for Colombo and Company this afternoon. We will be back tomorrow at 2, Ashlyn and I. In the meantime, keep it here for the O'Reilly Report next, followed by the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. Thank you so much for listening to us and supporting us here at 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
If you love your pet, which I know you do, then they deserve the excellent treatment and care they'll receive at Pacific Animal Hospital in Pacific, Missouri. A full-service veterinarian facility. Originally built and grown by my dad, Dr. Bill Jones, a new generation of wonderful veterinarians and staff at Pacific continue to provide outstanding medical, surgical, dental, boarding, and grooming services for your favorite furry friends. Our family entrusts the care of our pets only to the experienced docs and staff at Pacific Animal Hospital. You should too. Call them today, 636-257-2100, 24/7 at PacificVets.com, PacificVets.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Mark Schmitz, father of Jared Schmitz, the founder of the freedom13.org.
We've met with Trump now, I think it's 6 times. Trump has been fantastic. What you see on TV is what you get.